man. It's I just got done reading the article I saw posted on UFC ESPN.com, and seeing your name mentioned in there, I'm sure the hard work, because I mean it's all culminating right now, but I know this has been kind of a long journey and a lot of long days and probably extremely long nights to get to where you're at right now. So I
Dude,
would enjoy it, man.
it's been it's just really cool. And the main thing is like I'm super happy, obviously, with the job. That's amazing. Whichever one I choose, I'm pretty sure I'm going one way, but just being able to have Dana White go, this is what we're doing. That alone in itself, where if it's his idea, it's fast tracked, it's happening. They've already talked. There's already been numbers thrown around. Like to the tune of $2.2 million the second time around they talked, and real awkward conversation between research scientists and UFC executives. I don't know if you spent much time around either one of them, but they're both just very different. So my buddy who runs the intermediary company between the two was like, dude, it was so awkward. But either way, like I have people that are willing to pay for the studies. Like right now, they go 2.2 mil, done. I'll pay for all of it. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me
It's
just like,
important stuff, you know. I
yeah,
think
it's really important, and it's I've done my hardest, done my best, tried my hardest, trained and researched and learned and done the right like the right work um, to be here. I'm just proud of being this person. Like I'm finally proud to be somebody. Before I was never really that proud of being who I was. I wasn't the best person. You have to be selfish and angry and crazy to be the best in the world at anything.
mhm.
Uh, you have to have a fire inside you that's like it's not that it's not really good for interacting with other human beings. You look at people like fucking Lance Armstrong or Kobe Bryant or even Michael Jordan. They're kind of dicks, you know, and that's just like that's super competitiveness. And I finally I lost it, which is great. It's gone, and I feel so good. I feel
Yeah,
so.
I have this conversation all the time with my wife because, from a business standpoint, it became my world, my life, and she kind of sacrificed, but it was easy because you're adults, you're consenting adults, and you she was kind of ride or die, and we had a child, and then it changes things, and it makes you start to doubt yourself, and it's like, well, maybe I'm not being the best dad, but then you're like, well, but to be a good dad, I need to provide, and then it's like, well, I want to be there tonight for bedtime, and you grapple with these inner demons in a way, and can tie yourself up into knots. And that's just on a small scale, you know what I mean? Like to think that the world's watching on a stage, or that you're going to be locked in a cage with somebody and, possibly be physically harmed, at least that's what they're trying to do to you and you're trying to do to somebody else. So there's grave consequences with that. So, I mean, I know how that's affected me at moderate success in the business world. I can't imagine the amount of stress that puts on the body, the nervous system of somebody who's doing it in front of everybody else with the expectations of a lot of people on your shoulders.
Yeah, it's a different kind of animal. Um, and as much as I love it, I mean, I love what I did. I love the sport, obviously. Like I'm giving back to the sport in more than one way. Trying to change judging and scoring, which is only fair. And I'm trying to give these athletes a way to heal. And I did it with myself. My friends have done it with themselves. And people deserve this. And the thing is this translates to everyone. Like I have clients that have kids that microdose, kids with brain injuries, kids with autism. I'm talking like, not like younger, not maybe not under 10, but, teenagers, young teenagers. But I know people are microdosing their kids, babies, who are autistic or have, have showing those signs. Um, Traumatic brain injury is real, and you can hit your head or, accidentally ingest something, whether it's too much medicine or whatever. Something happens to you, and your brain is really not good. you have seizures or whatever, you can fix this stuff with these medicines. And um, I was engaged to a woman who had epilepsy. That my own daughter has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and I healed her with cannabis. She's 9 now, but she was diagnosed at 2.5, and she couldn't walk. Um, so I get to see changes in myself. I mean, shit, my soon-to-be 24-year-old stepson, he's autistic, and he to see the change in him with this over the last year that I've lived here is it's made me cry on multiple occasions. It'll make me cry forever. Like it's so cool to see because he's really smart. He's got a degree, a gerontology degree. I don't have that. His mother's a genius. He's very very smart. Um, and it's just understanding how all that works with too much stimuli. I taught martial arts to kids with autism and Down syndrome and all sorts of afflictions or whatever you want to call them. I always knew specifically autism that they're just smarter than we are. There's just too much. They're too hyper focused. They
Hmm.
don't like the extra stimuli. And that's what I can get into that through gut biome and stuff, but we won't go there. That's a whole other conversation. But it's just being able to heal these people. Um, it breathes so much life into this world, dude. I've never been more ashamed to be a person than right now, let alone a rich white guy who grew up in Orange County, part of the 1%, tied to a president. Not only a president, Franklin Pierce, the guy that started the Civil War for slavery. Like, that's who I'm tied to. That's my family. Like, what the fuck, dude?
That's deep. Yeah.
And I I make a joke because, like I said, I do comedy, and I'm trying at least. Um, I made just a joke about, like, I've never seen more people, I swear to God, I went to high school with, doing something illegal. And just like the douchebags, I'm like, living in Orange County, I've had to turn down invitations to go on my friends who I've known my whole life, who just happen to be really wealthy. 'Cause that's where I grew up in this area. Um, I had to turn down an invitation to go on a yacht, like a yacht I've been on a few times, because it was a holiday weekend. It was covered in Trump flags, and I'm not political. I didn't. I should have voted, but I didn't. Um, but either way, you're not supposed to talk about who you voted for.
Yeah, that's where it's gotten
You're not supposed to tell people.
so outrageous. I mean, in a way, it's like it's people are baiting it. You know what I mean? It's like now people want to draw it out of you because then it's weaponized and it's leverage and it's become this accepted form of warfare that we all engage in. I think the big shame for me is, like, I think about how much I learn from everybody, and I learn in a lot of cases the most from people who I'm least similar to. You know what I mean? It's like how I've broadened my whole world in a way. Like, you know what I mean? If I just kept staying in that isolation chamber with everybody else who I grew up with, then you'd never grow outside of that mindset. And so now that everything's so charged and everybody's kind of retreated back to their camp, so to speak, I feel like we're losing all of the benefit of the people who were different being able to mend ideas together outside of politics. And it's like, what's going to be the long-term effect of the fact that none of us can get along except with our, quote unquote tribes? It's like, we've got to figure out a way to treat each other in a way that we all want to be treated, a base level of respect. And it starts there, and it starts with personal accountability. It starts with, owning your own actions, and realizing that we're all imperfect humans, that we're all capable of making mistakes, and that we all deserve to be redeemed. But then that also requires those people to take the steps to be redeemed. You know what I mean? It's a two-way street. And nobody wants to, like, take that leap and kind of like say, okay, I'm willing, and maybe it's justified because they'll be left holding their nuts, so.
I've never seen more people do good for themselves and other people because of one thing, and that's microdosing. I've never seen more change more people's lives, whether it's those same kids that are underage, or
Mhm.
their parents come to me and they're like, "Hey, like, you're my friend, or I know you kind of," and I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Is my kid crazy?" I'm like, "Why? What did they do?" I'm like, well, they told me they didn't want their Adderall anymore and their whatever, Xanax or whatever they're on, some gross thing. And the parents are like, why? And they go, well, I have to tell you something. I started microdosing. And I'm like, is my kid crazy? Like, what's going on? Like, can I get, am I supposed to get mad? And I'm like, no, number one, no, don't get mad. Like, what'd you do? You take him? You're like, yeah. Like, did you feel better? Yeah. Is your kid a better person all around? I mean, first off, your kid committed a felony. So did you. But whatever. It's you can't get, can't get in trouble now. But is your kid a better person? Is he a better sibling or her a better sibling to the brothers and sisters? And just overall better at everything, efficient. Yes. Like, well, you
Yeah,
make the
what are you
choice.
trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is we all need to focus on being better, and we need tools to do that because yeah, of course. And the tools. I tell people I was just teaching, helping teach was telling my story on the Dr. Fadiman podcast or a big podcast webinar for educational stuff about microdosing. Who Dr. Fadiman is the godfather of microdosing. It's such an honor to work with those guys. Adam Bramlage, um,
Mhm.
and just to see how many different people are being affected. I mean, I had someone who saw me that I grew up with on there that like I didn't know, but was in between my grade and like a couple years older than me, but not quite as old as my brother in high school. And like I was like, oh, I kind of remember your face. He's like, oh yeah, I remember said something about school. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I saw you on Dr. Fadiman's thing, and from some random mother who's pushing 40 to an elderly person who's all about it, that knows everything, knows all the keywords and terminology to high school kids. Like it's gotten around, and it's pretty damn cool, and there's more steps that are gonna happen, like with people giving it to kids, like children. It's gonna happen because it's just like CBD in the right doses. It's really good for them, but it's not socially acceptable right now, and people need to tread lightly. I teach harm prevention as well, so I'm like, look at this is stuff you can think about. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't want to hear because I
Yeah.
can't.
So how did you get exposed to all this to begin with?
Um, well, I come from a very interesting family. Um, yes, I grew up on the beach here in Orange County. My family, we were in real estate and the car business with a dealership in LA, in downtown LA. So, my family had a, very successful life and business, but my dad smuggled weed around the world or hash oil, things like that in the 70s. Um, and was always really cool about us. I always stole his weed. I started smoking when I was 8 years old. So it was like way too young, but still like I just was stealing. I saw my brother doing it and I did it with him and so on. Um, so I was always selling pot my whole life. And then, I got out of it when my daughter was born and it was still illegal back then. It was almost 10 years ago. And I was world champion. I didn't need to do it anymore. I almost helped open a big dispensary. I did some consulting in cannabis. I'm part of a CBD company that's got a deal right now. We're trying to work with the UFC, another deal with the UFC. Um, I'm really really tight with the UFC now, so it's pretty cool. Um, and then once I retired, I was like, well, it's 100% legal. And I go to that same CBD office, and there's a distribution center in the back, and I walk in, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I just left my personal training job because I was bored. And there's like a couple 100 pounds there, and I was like, oh, I just have to like work through licenses and do like the right work. It's totally legal. It's a commodity. And since I got into cannabis or into psychedelics heavy, I stayed away from it because it's still a world I don't want to be around.
Yep.
um, I just, like my friend's shop was just robbed the other day. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be around this. Like, I'm actually dangerous. You pull a gun on me, I'm going to take it from you. Like really quick. I understand. Have you ever heard of the 18-foot rule?
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. A normal person can get to someone within 18 feet before you can pull your gun out. I'm not a normal person. I know how to disarm people, and
Yeah.
it's just like I'm like don't like these people. It's just a word. It's still very gangster, and I don't like it because I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah, I was in the cannabis space. My brother still operates in it in Southern Cal. We were doing a lot of events and we would rent out places in the hills and we'd throw events. We'd bring in companies, they'd pay sponsorships, get tables. and that kind of grew. And we were rolling this half pound 24 karat gold joint for 420, and we were going to do it at the this roller's house, and things kind of fell through, and made a couple phone calls, and we ended up at a recording studio in Hollywood. And I mean, it just, one thing led to another, and before you know it, I'm like sitting at this table, and there's multiple pounds of high grade cannabis that was given to us by a partner that's expecting this to be showing up at a party. And you just kind of see people walking by and looking in this room, and then it's like you see people on cell phones, and I started getting a little paranoid. I'm thinking, you know, this, we're kind of like caught in the moment, but this is how bad things happen. This is somebody being opportunistic, and like we're like, oh yeah, weed's legal again, but you still don't realize that there's, $4,000 a pound sitting right there on the table, and somebody might want to get their hands on it.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, that's LA every day, man.
Oh,
I get it.
exactly. And I've been working with Tyson Ranch, like those people there, Gary Chalk at TMZ doing my PR. Um, and I have to take advantage of this. I have a high position. Whichever company that I work with, I'll be an athlete liaison, sports performance director, something along those lines. Because I bring in a lot of stuff. I bring in large financing, which they already have, but extra millions of dollars is good for them. Um, the connection with the UFC, the podcast. I've got a puppet show. Like we
I
can.
was watching it.
It's we've got stuff shot. We haven't. It's not all put together completely yet, and plus we need funding. I mean, it's just one of those passion projects where, like, for me, I just go look at everyone listens to puppets these days. Like, that's just how it works. Like, you guys think like those two guys run the world? Like, no, they're battling it out for like some position that matters. No, everyone relax. Nothing's like it's ridiculous. So I was like, I'll use a puppet. I'll explain with a puppet, and I've got there's so much stuff to be done. It's just we all have a bunch of other stuff we're doing. So we're working on it, getting sponsors for it and getting it paid for because it's not that expensive. It's just I just got to get a little bit more going.
You take these serious topics that people want to hear about, but they're tired of hearing people talk about them the way that people talk about them. And it's just like I'm sitting there getting informed and like shaking my head yes while like cracking up laughing because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's exactly what we want to do. It's just it's me teaching my old self because I don't want to be Uncle Creepy anymore. I haven't wanted to be Uncle Creepy ever. That was a joke of a nickname that I put down. It's a long story. I was like fresh out of rehab and I needed a fight. My coach was like, "You want to fight?" And I was like, "You need money, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he showed me the guy I was going to fight, and I'm like, "Sure." And I wrote it down because my friend's son called it to me, like called me that like the weekend before or a couple weeks before. I was like, "Ha, I'll write it down." Well, it stuck. Everyone loved it, and it's now I can't get rid of my blue check mark. Or I mean, if I can't change my name without getting rid of my blue check mark because it's owned by the UFC, and it's not their fault. It's just part of the business. It's
Yeah.
just how. So I have to, they're trying to charge me like 4 grand to do it, and I'm like, fuck. Okay,
Holding you hostage with it.
it's like trying to monetize social media is a headache, and I've never been that good at it. But I've got a team doing it now, and I've got companies behind me, so it'll be fine. I mean, like I said, this show at the Comedy Store is going to be massive. It's a show all about mushrooms, so I'm the guy. Like we get to talk about industry people, like we're talking business, and I mean everything, the healing side of it, the retreat side of it, the tech side of it, the disinfectant side of it, like how my buddy just started a company with fungal disinfectant where it's all safe and it keeps a surface clean for a while. So it's like there's so much cool innovation to be shown. And then, obviously the therapeutic side, getting in some veterans, um, just showing, I mean, whoever, like I'm sure we'll have you name it, we can have it on there if it's related to mushrooms.
Yeah. I remember there was a class in college, drugs and society, and there
Okay.
was a video that uh, actually may have been when my wife went through school and I saw her, like she brought it home or had us watch it. And there was an older gentleman who was suffering from some like really random type of headache, like a splitting type of headache. And he was just grinding up his own mushrooms and putting them in capsule form. And he would once a month go out there and it relieved him of all of his symptoms. And that was like the first time that I had ever realized that there was a therapeutic use for psilocybin. You know what I mean? It was like I had at the think at the time I had heard and knew that there was like the medical cannabis avenue, but even then I kind of didn't put a whole lot of stock in that. It was before anybody was really talking about the medical benefits in a serious manner, at least in my world. And I remember watching that and being like, wow, we're all like being lied to because this guy
Yeah.
seems like a really straight edge dude who probably like maybe drinks an IPA with dinner, like one. You know what I mean? He just, it was like the anti drugger, you know? And I had used, shrooms before. Yeah, it was always a good time. It was fun. And I never really put two and two together that there was a lot of introspective behavior going on and that a lot of characteristics and traits that I probably came out of that with were a result of being under the influence, you know? But that was like that first aha moment for me. And
Yeah,
that was,
we'll get back to the question you asked. I forgot. Right,
yeah,
well, um, having a family like that, my brother, he was been extracting DMT for over a decade. We always he'd been growing cannabis since he was 12 and I was 9. Like we've been doing this our whole lives. We've been into plant medicine our whole lives. My dad would tell us stories about eating 15 peyote buttons out in the desert with my uncle. Like I'm like, what? How many did you eat? Like, okay, so you're the reason I'm like this. You're the reason I go so hard. Um, and my parents were just 70s, children that were really healthy and very into it. And my dad was always very like, this is fine, like this stuff. And he would never like give it to me or anything, but he knew I'm like, he's not stupid. Um, and he was always super, super passionate about it and just how good it is for you. And then, um, I guess being in this space, I've always known, I always knew the capabilities and, um, I finally started to really not go back to the well like I used to. I used to go back to the well so much because I had and I still have a lot of healing to do. That's the thing. I'm not. I'm being positioned as this person, um, y- you know, but I'm still not like I have a lot of stuff to deal with. And like most people, that can't all be fixed at one go, like most people. And I've gone a lot. I've done
it's
a lot.
probably an ongoing process forever.
Yes, and with me, the mixture of ego, from my former life, it still gets there sometimes, and I still go in the gym and train with guys, and I can still beat up 99% of them, um, and these are people that are in the UFC right now, like very high ranked, like professionals. But that's the thing. It's like I don't care. It's fun to me. I like to screw around and beat them up just because I'm still better than they are. But like there it is. It's just I get I'm still kind of cocky.
Yeah, but you
Uh,
have to, again, you said it earlier though, right? It's like you wouldn't have been able to accomplish everything that you did if you didn't have that, you know, big swinging dick energy. You gotta kind of have that if you want to succeed. And if you don't, it's probably not going to work out for you.
yeah, and for the first time in a long time, I mean, I guess my fighting was finesse. I like to make it look pretty. That was just what I did. I think I had some of the best style in that division. There was just martial arts in general. Um, but to make psychedelics work and to make everything just sync up, you know what I mean? To make my life work in this manner, like and flow and just like where my energetic output has been going. That was my focus. That was how I changed my life. When I met my now fiance, that was like one of the first things she said to me. First, because we were at a party where I was hosting a party and people were taking mushrooms. This was a year and a half ago, I guess. So it wasn't that long ago. And people would pay me to do that. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it, you know. And there wasn't any ceremony behind it. I had my own, but people weren't really like stoked. They weren't like let's do it, you know. I just would do my own little thing. Um, and I met her, and it was already the last party I was gonna do. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like I already stopped doing them for the most part. I just this is whatever. And she walks in, and my friend goes, "Hey, I want you to meet somebody." And I was like, "Oh, hi. Well, hello. How are you?" And she handed me her phone, and she had a decrim patch or sticker and a decrim California and decrim Nature. She's like, "We need to talk." I was like, "Okay." So I sat down, and she explained, you know, that she's the scientist and UCLA professor, and that she's working on decrim and this and that and the other thing. We just started talking um, about mushrooms, about psychedelics, you know, and just like hit it off. And it was one of literally the first things like, well, where's your energetic output going? You're crazy. Like you're insane. Like you will look at you, I'm all over the place. Just I was just scatterbrained. And over the last, you know, a little over a year, that's what I've done. I focused my energy finally because I'm not normal. I'm special. I don't know what it is. I can work really hard and I have cool friends or I have good connections, however you want to put it. Um, that put me in certain positions and I have the balls to ask questions. You know, I have, like I said, I just asked these questions to the UFC just because I was already texting with them with Jeff Nowitzki about going to his house to go see his new house he bought in Vegas. And I'm like, hey, let's do a study. And he's like, no, it's illegal. I was like, I have a girlfriend. I work with this company, Unlimited Sciences. Let's talk. And he said, well, let's, you know, get me FDA approval in a major university study. And I said, well, I already got it because I know you wanted that because you already made me get that with my CBD company. And good, so I got it. I have FDA and we have Johns Hopkins. And he's like, cool. So let's come to Vegas and let's do this. You know, just tell me about it. So I specifically got my fiance out there because she's, you know, she's like I said, she's been a professor forever. She's spoken on TV a bunch and sold products. So like getting her in front of Jeff, it was like, okay, like on button, and I just sat back. And because you know, Jeff's my friend, he's not going to take me that serious. Um, and he just saw the legitimacy of it. And they had to turn it down a year ago because you know it was illegal. But this whole industry has changed so much. I thought this would take 5 years to accomplish because I knew I would come back to it. And then I sent Dana because I've known Dana for since I was a teenager. It's just a relationship I have. Um, and you know, I sent him the link to the HBO episode, and he was one of the first friends I had that actually text me back about it. I, I I was really low at one point after the recording, after it came out. I was just down. I just was just some things were not lining up, and I was just going crazy. I was integrating from ayahuasca and from a large dose of psilocybin the next weekend, so I was just in a weird place. And Dana was one of the first people to text me back, and I was like, "Hey, man, thank you. Like, I love you. You're a good dude." And less than a week later, Jeff Nowitzki called and he goes, "All right, we need back in." So all I did was make a phone call and I said, "Hey, they're in." I connected them. There was emails, and now it's out of my hands.
Mhm.
It's you know, it's I mean, for the most part, you know, like I'm still helping facilitate other parts of it that need to happen, but you know, they're already talking, and you know, like I'm waiting for them to go, "Hey, we need money," and I can just go, "Okay, well,
Mhm.
here you go."
So, at a high level, what's kind of like the inner workings of the study?
It is a study on traumatic brain injury, CTE. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's trying to fix that stuff. I mean, there's other studies to do on PTSD,
Mhm.
you know, addiction, performance, which is a big one, which is what all these companies want to do. Um, and obviously, they want to do it with the UFC, but the NHL is talking to people.
Mhm.
The NFL is talking to people. So, I mean, it's all going to happen. You're going to see a big influx of some really good stuff going on. You know, we're going to see it. And again, the NFL stuff, that's somebody else's. Like, sure, and maybe for whatever company I choose to work with, I can run that division because I do have a lot of friends in the NFL. Just again, from being an athlete. And fighters always get along with NFL guys really well because they're crazy. Um, so you know, it's a good mix. Whatever. I'm just happy that there's a lot of people that are involved because there's some really big name athletes that are doing this. And even just, dude, I've been recently sitting with more and more very, very high net worth individuals and powerful people, like influential people. Um, I mean, I haven't met Tony, but Tony Robbins is admitted to doing 5-MeO DMT, like those sort of people. And it's everywhere, dude. Everyone is doing it. And it's like, and it's just to be the guy that's part of this world that's even sometimes helping facilitate for these people, because they don't want to work with a shaman. Like I shouldn't even be saying that, but I do, because these people they're uber famous, uber wealthy, whatever, and
There's
they
a lot
don't
of
want
risk to that.
whatever. I mean, I don't give a shit.
Well, I'm saying for them though, you know what I mean? The wrong you get messed up with the wrong person, if you're not
On that
comfortable.
end, yeah, but that's the thing. They come to me and they're gonna go to the right hands, or they're comfortable with me for whatever reason it is, and they know that they're safe. It's just all it's about safety, and it's not something I even really I don't charge for it. I just go, okay, come here. Like let's talk, and then you just go over some things, and the NLP. What are the stories they're telling me and telling themselves, and um, you know, just body language, eye contacts, things like this is just I can read it and see. Okay, maybe not today. Well, why don't we do this another day? Why don't we talk again and go over some stuff? It's just it's a cool space. It's a really fun to be the person I am now.
Yeah, I was just watching Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia on Vice the other day, and my wife and I were laying in bed, and it was about the toad, and she's like watching some guy flop around on the rocks of a riverbed, and she's like, "I've heard you talk about this with your friends, and like, I just I'm missing and not understanding like how this is beneficial for anybody." And then he's like foaming at the mouth and all kinds of crazy shit. I don't know if you've seen the episode.
Yeah, I
It's
have.
pretty, yeah, I mean it's pretty intense, but you know, it's it's one of those things that I'd love the opportunity. I've had a couple of people just from that time that I was in California where I've made some connections, and it's like, hey, I'll get like a random text message with a group of numbers that I don't recognize, like taking a trip to the Amazon. Whoever wants to go in 3 weeks, like let us know. And I've a few times been like, well, fuck, like maybe this is the time that I just like bounce and go, you know, see what's up. But
I mean, dude, there's so much opportunity. I'm pretty sure I'll be going to Costa Rica soon to do some sort of work. I don't know if I'll do ayahuasca or mushrooms, um, but man, if you need recommendations, I can recommend you people here in California, the people I work with, Bearhart and Bree at the Earth Temple. I'm sort of a reverend for the church, a preacher. No, I'm not a reverend yet. I will be once I go through their program completely. Um, like I said, there's really legit people here. The only person or people I've ever trusted with giving me ayahuasca are them. There's
mhm,
Bearhart, and he's the head shaman guy. He's an incredible. He was the person that was in the HBO special with me.
okay.
And there's that. There's so many good places in other countries. I mean, do you want to go with me? I'm going to be going to the Amazon eventually, and going to be driven through. So I work with a naturopath named Stefan uh, Cassian. I can't think of how I can pronounce his name, um, but he's actually on my website. He is a super brain, and uh, he's going to give me an adventure through the Amazon on horseback and go get in touch with the Amazon and do ayahuasca and do all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's so exciting. He's actually where I'm going to be doing all the testing for my Mccall method. And I'm sure for whatever company I work with, I'll be getting analytics and getting testing stuff done there because they've got all these crazy, crazy high tech machines for testing your body for all this stuff.
Mhm.
Everything you want to know about your body, you can get tested without anything being injected into you or need. Like you just stand on this thing and it reads your body. It's really I can't explain it. It's out of my pay grade. But there's a lot of really cool things you can do like that. I mean, I can add on the full testing before. You can go through the ceremony, whether it's mushrooms, ayahuasca, ibogaine, whatever it is. So you see all your afflictions before. You see what's wrong with you, inflammation, whatever, cancer. Go through the ceremony, go through a little bit integration, and you can do testing again, and then see the benefits of it. See how good you've done. You get your own numbers. It's really cool.
That is awesome. And these types of studies and this type of, illumination on this stuff is only going to just exponentially enhance all of that. I mean, it's crazy. To your point, it's like you thought this was going to be a 5-year process just to even start getting some of this stuff to happen. It's like within a year it occurs. And when you think about the money that can get behind it now and the additional resources that get behind it, I mean, Jesus Christ, man, I'm trying to think. It's like the limits are completely endless, really.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for just the stars are just they're aligning. They're already aligning. But to be the person that people know, okay, I can go to him now because I know, I can, whether they can put their money in the right place for investing or they just want to come heal, whether they want to just learn and learn about the benefits of non psychedelic mushrooms. I teach that too, the myco diet, just for if you don't want to get psychedelic, not everybody wants to. DARPA and people like Daniel Garcia who are taking the pharmaceutical model are trying to get rid of the psychedelic part of mushrooms because it's government, and there's a lot of really, really, really interesting stuff happening. I
Hmm.
mean, someone asked me today, well, what else does it do besides help brain damage? I was like, everything. It fixes everything. It fixes the human condition. It fixes you, literally everything, because everything in your body that's bad is tied back to inflammation. And inflammation is your diet, is your environment, is stressors, is trauma in your body. And to get rid of that stuff, it's high doses of anti-inflammatory substances like psychedelics, like CBD, like turmeric. I mean, the list goes on. You can put in a bunch of stuff, and as long as you're putting that stuff in your body constantly, like I am, you're gonna feel way better.
Yeah. Now I
That's
take turmeric and hemp every day for
that's
implement just daily inflammation relief. I used to be a 8 a day ibuprofen easily. You know what I mean? I think about the damage that I did to my stomach, and I've had a ton. We talked a little bit in the when we were with Steve. I've battled gut problems for a couple of years, and you know, I I'm sure some of it's stress. I'm sure some of it's diet. I'm sure some of it's just wrecking my gut biome with energy drinks and ibuprofen and drinking and God knows what else. But uh, turmeric's a lifesaver, man. It really is. I can't believe, and I'm usually skeptic about stuff, and I'll take supplements for a while, and then I'll stop taking them and be like, oh, well, I didn't really notice anything. I notice like being able to move freely in the mornings when I get up, just ankle pain, knee pain, and it's you got to consistently take it, but it's
Are you taking a black pepper?
yeah, with bioprene.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Four. So I take two tablets a day. So it's 40 milligrams of CBD from hemp, and then it's 800 milligrams of turmeric or curcumin from turmeric root extract and turmeric, and then the black pepper extract for the absorption.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, see that's one thing that people just don't know. Yeah, they're just uneducated about it. But good job. I mean, there's simple things like getting back to the stomach.
Yep.
My stomach was riddled. I was in and out of the hospital like a dozen times, I think, in 2 years. Because that's why my career in UFC went to shit because I ended up in the hospital a bunch. In Ireland, Brazil, and New York. Um, it was not good. And when you have issues, people think of bacteria only in their body. They think of your microbiome, which is good. Which is good. You should replenish that. You should you should fix that because especially you take antibiotics and stuff, you're ruining it. But no one thinks about the fungus in your body. No one thinks about rebuilding the mycological biome in your body. And it's just again, people are just uneducated about it. And then they're starting to learn. People are starting to come around to, you know, um, the different mushroom supplements. The larger variety you get of mushrooms, the larger variety of protection you will have with your immunity, with all that stuff. As you're getting so much benefit of mushrooms, they offer so much benefit. I mean, polysaccharides and beta glucans for your immune system. You've got vitamin D, fat soluble hormone. You've got vitamin A. You've got trace elements. You have, all these, uh, you know, uh, neurogenic or brain vitamins. I can't think right now. I'm so tired. It's been such a long day.
Nootropic type stuff.
Nootropic, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I tell people though, I have to say that I was so broken. I did have to biohack, and I injected a bunch of peptides. I still do. I haven't taken them in like a month or two, just because I want to take a break. Um, but a bunch of peptides. I take BDNF with NAD plus, BPC, actually once BPC 157 blend, modulate my testosterone with that and a little TRT because I like having the testosterone of an 18-year-old. It's cool, and I work out hard. So whatever. I'm a little vain. I like to look really good, jacked, so it helps.
Yeah.
Um,
Anybody that doesn't want to believe that there's optimal life to be had when you replace your hormone levels, you're
too.
missing out.
I tell people all the time, when my nuts shrink?" I'm like, "You don't use them. Who cares? You don't need them." Um, there's more graphic ways to explain that with people who, but we
Yeah.
won't go there. Um, and there's like all of the most successful people, men that I know that are older, are like, "Oh yeah, I've been on TRT forever." Like, dude, they look great, they act great, they have energy, they're in their 60s and they're crushing it. And you're just like, you know what? I want to be that guy. Like I'm going to be that guy, It's like I'm using all the best stuff. I've got access to the best labs. These are all my friends, who own these places and stuff. So it's really cool. And I tell people, look, you don't have to spend a bunch of money like I did, or like I do, like I will continue to do on exosomes and like stem cells or things like that, or peptides and all this stuff. You can just biohack and make yourself better with a smile in the morning, with a laugh. Go in the mirror. If your life sucks, go in the right when you wake up, go in the mirror, splash some cold water on your face, laugh and smile. I promise you, there's an actual reaction, a chemical reaction in your brain or in your stomach, actually, that translates to your brain. That then you will produce happier drugs in your head. Then you will go downstairs and you will see the person you love. Hopefully, you live with one, and you'll tell them that you love them and that they look great and that they're happy, a happy morning or grand rising. Um, then their day's better. And then the next person is just like simple things like that. You gotta protect yourself at all times, literally all times. Just say good stuff, do good stuff like that. That's the big basis of it. Then you can go get a cheap, if you can only afford one supplement, better than anything else, go get a, I mean, some sort of mushroom supplement. I mean, sure, Paul Stamets, those came. There's a bunch of brands. I don't want to poo-poo anybody. So there's a bunch of brands out there. So get one of them and with a large variety of mushrooms and take them. It will make your life better. I promise you. It'll help with your skin. It'll help with your hair. It'll help with your stomach. It'll help with acne. It'll help with inflammation. It'll help with headaches. It'll help with just the list goes on, dude. It's crazy.
Well, aren't mushrooms like the largest organic life form on Earth?
Yeah, it's 22,000 acres or 20. I don't know some. I don't. I can't even remember. It's really big. It's up in Oregon. Um,
Part of
and
me
that's
thinks, like, as we find out more about aliens here over the next couple of years, probably, like, I don't know, man. I'm big on thinking, like, when you look at an anthill or you look at something really small, they have no idea what you are looking at them. They just kind of exist in their own little world, right? And I feel like there's no way we are at the edge of existence. We must be a smaller part of something much larger because it extrapolates that way when you look inward from our point of view. And so I don't, like, when I think about it that way, and that we may be just a small piece of something much larger, it starts to then put things in perspective like that. It's like, why is there this giant fungus that's breathing and it's bigger than anything else? And we take it for granted. We just think it's this thing growing out of the ground. But in all actuality, that could be the lung molecule of this larger being that we're a fungus of on top. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm fucked up right now and still
no,
high
no,
from
no,
earlier.
no. That's it. That's exactly how we should be thinking. These things are smart. And what if the Martians, what if the aliens, Martians, whatever you wanna call them, put them here for us to eat them, so then they could control us. Or they could open our minds to know that, look, we have no chance. Just say yes. You're here. I welcome you, my new overlords. Um, I don't know, man. These things are intelligent, and yeah, they probably did come from outer space. That's theoretical right now, but it's very plausible from what I've been told, um, which is so cool. Which is so cool. I actually I had an stoned ape I had a stoned ape theory trip in Malibu Canyon. I ate way too much in Malibu Canyon like years ago, and then right after I heard about the stoned ape theory, and I watched it happen. Like, mind you, I thought I was the big, tough chimp that was on the savannah floor, like, just laying there with like my female, and I was looking at the tree, and I was like, "That's where I came from." Like, and I saw it all in my head, and realistically, I was on the side of the canyon road, like in the bush, laying there, just out of. I got lost. I walked into someone's house. I think a couple of houses. It was crazy. Um, but you do things like that when you're young. But I've yeah, as you see, I've been doing this my whole life. I've been into psychedelics since I was like a kid. I've been studying this and adoring people like Terrence McKenna, my whole life. This is just something that it's paying off because people didn't know. People really didn't. They didn't know that I was into it. Like, I've done a
Yeah,
lot of learning.
I had no idea. I thought, I mean, it made sense listening to some of what's been published, but I didn't realize it went that deep. I thought you were, similar to a lot of professional athletes and, struggled a little bit coming out of your career. You mentioned the ego thing. I've had the conversations with a lot of guys that have said, it's tough and you can identify it in other people, but you can't see it in yourself. And, I figured you stumbled across the right person and had an experience and it changed your life. But it's cool to know that it kind of came full circle and maybe you didn't understand the complexity or how deep it went when you were younger. It seems like you understood more than most young people because I think it sounds like your parents were similar to mine and that they were fairly honest with you about how
Ye-
things were and you didn't have this false stigma that a lot of people have, that even today it's like they'll drink gallons of alcohol, yeah, but you're, going to burn in hell because you took a hit on a very weak joint. But
See, my parents still have all the best weed. My mom's a chef, so well, she's retired, but they're both retired. But she now cooks. Like, my brother he'll harvest and he'll come bring like 40 pounds of shake, like really premium shake. And I'll open the fridge in the garage, and it's like it's just full. It's full of herb, and I'm like, okay, like, cause she cooks with it, and she makes all the neighbors, all of, whoever wants edibles has edibles. Um, and it's fun just to see how much this stuff helps people.
mhm,
Like, I did it myself for the most part, but I also had, yeah, I did it. It's the thing. You're right. I didn't quite understand what I was doing, really. Like, I had a little bit of an understanding comparatively, but I really had no idea. And I've learned. I mean, my first shamanistic experience was not that long ago. It was a little over a year ago. Like, my first real shamanistic experience. Before it was just I was a party boy, and I would do crazy high doses, but that was in a different setting.
mhm.
Um, never in a party setting. I wouldn't take like 10 grams in a party setting. I'd be at I'd be with friends and in a cool, good, cool, good spot. But
Mhm.
I mean, I'm actually going back to the first person I went to. Finally, I need to go see him, and he lives on the La Jolla Indian reservation, and I'm going to take 20 grams. So that's the
Heroes,
yeah, and a god dose. Heroes like 5 to 7, I think, and
the God dose.
yeah, and I just it's been calling. I'm not. This isn't my first rodeo. I'm a professional, uh, and when I talk with the elder statesmen or the really high end people in this industry, um, or even friends of mine like Kyle Kingsbury.
Mm.
They go, "Oh, you haven't done 20 grams yet?" And I'm like, another person says that. I'm like, "Shit. Okay. Well, I have. I guess I need to. I need to see what it's like." I've gotten to that space where I'm like, "Okay, this is ready. I need to do that, and I need to do 5-MeO."
I feel like we've all done 20 grams in 2020, brother.
Yes, yes. But this was the best time of my life. This was such an amazing time because, I was just able to suspend it in the right way and accomplish so much. So I mean, I'm not obviously no one's happy this happened, but it made me settle down and focus, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I've said it a bunch. You can look at situations like this and they okay, they are what they are. That sucks. There's people that are suffering, but I'm healthy. I'm very thankful that I'm healthy and I've got two legs at work and my arms are working and I can get up in the morning and I can decide whether or not I'm going to put my best foot forward. And I think like there's a lot of capable people that take themselves out of the game. They remove themselves from the game completely because of the situation at hand. And it instantly just removes competition. And so as long as you're just willing to like get up and try, during times of chaos, the opportunity is the greatest. And you can just pass. It's like, somebody staying in pit row for too long in NASCAR, it's like you just get out there and be on the track, and it bums me out when I see people who really have a lot to give and they allow outside circumstances to control that. And I only hope that those people can, the next go around or when something else bad happens, they can look at it from a different light because it's empowering. And I second what you say. I don't wish this on anybody, and I wish that it would have never happened. But I'm coming out of this pandemic with a lot of things, likewise to you, that I'm excited for, and that really only happened because there was upheaval in the world, and I decided to try to look at it from a positive mindset.
Yeah, and that's how you had to do it. Otherwise, you see a lot of you see people how they're acting.
Mhm.
People are suffering, and it just doesn't. It's not the right way to do it. There's who knows how much abuse is going on. You hear the figures that they're just estimations, of course, and they're scary. They're really scary. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And that's just there doesn't seem to be any middle ground. It's people that are just tortured and crazy and so unrealistic about so many things.
Mhm.
Uh, or you have the people that are just calm and cool and collected, going, "Yep, all right, well, I'm gonna go back in my house now. Like I'm gonna go get my work done because I'm being uber successful right now." It's like, okay, it's
I
great.
haven't I haven't turned the television on really since before the election. I followed it pretty intently leading up to it. I wanted to see what happened, but it's been disappointing. And there's enough stuff to keep us all at least I know there's enough stuff to keep me busy, and I don't need to do it. And I've been happier, quite honestly.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. It's been. I'll put the news on every once in a while, um, and I just don't like it ever. I've never liked it, and now I know I have to pay attention to it because I'm a 36-year-old adult, and I should probably pay attention. Um, but yeah, it's so gross. It's not my thing. I just want I just want to watch like documentaries and read articles on smart stuff, like
Mhm.
science, healing stories. The good stuff.
That's why I'm so glad I have Vice and Smithsonian. I don't know if you've ever watched the Smithsonian channel, but
I don't think so.
yeah.
Actually, I don't have TV really.
So we have Hulu TV, so it's like live through Hulu, and I never knew Smithsonian television was even a thing. And like flip through it, and I'll always land on it. I was watching. It was the life story of dog fighters from the U.S. Air Force and Navy. So it was like all the way back to the very first fighter jets, talking about like World War II. I think where I picked up was like Pearl Harbor, and it followed a number of different guys and one lady that were famous fighter pilots, and it like showed footage from their planes. It was so cool. They do this other show called Aerial America, where it's just drone footage over every state, and they give like a history lesson about every state. And then there's special segments where it'll actually I think there was one on Las Vegas, and it was kind of like an aerial of Las Vegas. There was another on Yellowstone. So they do like unique places, but it's really cool history lesson and like amazing views. If you ever get an opportunity, check. They probably have stuff on YouTube if you're ever bored. Not that you have the time, but
I've got Hulu. I have some time, a little bit here and there to just
it's
sit with my.
relaxing. It's one of those things you put on in the background. It's like got this guy's really chill, mellow voice, and quite honestly, you know, I might partake a little myself and sit back and just watch the views of aerial America and get
Yeah,
lost in that.
Yeah, I need to I need to eat an edible and go do that. It's a good idea. What time is it? It's 8. I'm so tired. I woke up at 6 this morning.
Ugh.
I'm not a morning person, and I, been, like, trying to force myself to do it, and I just yeah, I'm not a fan, especially now that I couldn't sleep last night. Like, blah. I was just yeah, I was just stressed out, but I had a good night. I did stand up for the first time.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
That was great.
something new. Like, have you always wanted to dive into that? And
Well, no, I was doing stand-up. I actually had a I've had my first travel gig in stand-up, before COVID happened. So, I guess I just started to travel. Well, I mean, comedians say I can say I'm a comedian, so I
yeah.
guess I should. Um, and because I have this new show at the Comedy Store, I have to start doing this.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna have a job at the Comedy Store and just be the guy that
Well, it's
doesn't do
all about
comedy.
the reps. You got to get out there and get yourself primed again.
Yeah, and again, I'm new at this. I'm the only I mean, I was only doing comedy for like 5 or 6 months before I got these travel shows. So, was I deserving of them? No. As a comic, hell no. But because I have a blue check mark, people will come and see me,
Yep.
and that was fun. So, we went out to Pennsylvania, Detroit, and we had just fun. We had just a lot of fun, and smoked a bunch of weed, got a bunch of just it was a good time. It was fun to do, and I'm excited to do that again because it's very therapeutic for me. When COVID first started, I was doing jokes about my old life. They're about like fighting, gross, just sexual, just stuff that wasn't funny. And after once COVID started, I was like, I'm done. I'm over it. You had all the guys getting in trouble for grooming young girls and all this stuff, and I was like, I'm happy. I never became friends with those guys. I was kind of on track to. I'm like, "Fuck, I'm happy with never hung out with you douchebags. Um, but now I realized like last night my comedy is completely different. I'm a completely different person. So
Mhm.
this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good time.
Oh man, I'm excited to see it. I'm glad you're able to get back out. Hopefully, things change here, and maybe by sounds like the spring there could be a little bit more stuff opening up, and I think that'll be a compounding effect as as it starts to go and everything's all right. I think people have waited long enough. I think we'll see a really quick reawakening of stuff. So
Yeah, and we've got our own production facility for live events that are there's a barely we're audio and video recording studio basically, um, where we can have events and have very limited amount of people, like very small amount of people. But then again, we're live streaming, so that's the thing is I'll be able to get in and go up, to an open mic or not so much an open mic, but a backyard show kind of thing,
mhm.
once every 2 weeks or so, I think. So that's work, that's more work than most people are getting right now. Or if I go out to Vegas, I know I can do Tom Baum's psychedelic psycho show and go out there with a few of my friends that have, go out there and just do stuff. It's just again, it's like I'm starting all over again. So I got a lot of work to do.
When's the comedy store show start?
The first one will record February 2nd, I do believe, and then they'll be out like end of February, early March. We've already got sponsors that are chomping at the bit, like big ones. So I'm stoked, and whatever company obviously I work with, they'll sponsor the show, and yeah.
So is it similar to kind of like how Kill Tony got started, where they started to like film that show at the comedy store and leverage that, but it's kind of its own thing. It's really grown into a life of its own.
Yeah, and I know it's yeah, it's exploding. And we want to do travel shows as well because someone like Dr. Fadiman, he's old. Jim's Uncle Jim. He's old man. He's like 82, I think,
Mm.
and he can't travel. So we'll go up to San Francisco. We'll go see James McConkey, the guy that owns the Hate Street Shroom Shop, who's a good friend of mine, and we'll go see Dr. Fadiman in the Bay Area. And just go do stuff, or we'll go to Jamaica and we'll do a ceremony out there. We'll go to Brazil, or we'll go do like there's so much content to be shot, and we can have it just a different take on it. Like where Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia, one of my favorite shows in the world. I love that show. He's so good. It's some of the best. shot stuff I've seen like ever. I love it. I love it so much. Obviously, it'd be way different than that, um, but it's going to be good. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff, and I'm excited to show everybody and just to be a part of it. I'm so grateful to be able to do this.
Mm. I'm looking forward to it, man. So I know you had a long day. I'll let you get back to enjoying the family and relaxing, enjoying the fruits of your labor. Because
Thank
again, congratulations! And it's just, I know it's the start of this, and hopefully we can have more conversations as this all rolls out. Because I'm truly am fascinated, man. And hopefully, you know what, I may take you up on one of these offers and have a little experience. It's been a while, and it's definitely something that I need to, especially having a child now. Life changes, and you need that refocus every once
you.
in a while. So,
Yeah, we a couple things that we teach at the McCall method is couples integration. We wrote the first program for couples integration called Holding Space for a Loved One, but also something because we are such proud parents. I'm such a proud father. Um, we teach parenting integration, and obviously not taking psychedelics with your kids, but well, kind of. Actually, you can do that. You can do that with your grown kids. Obviously, I'm not going to give your young kids mushrooms. Um, I'm not doing illegal. Well, underage, I guess. But these this stuff works, man. It's working for everybody, and it's so cool to be, like I said, to be a part of this, dude. It's I'm so honored. I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna go fall asleep.
do your thing, man. I appreciate it. I know a lot of people are excited to hear this, and Ian, thank you much.
Thank you very much, man. I'll see you later.
Talk to you soon.